Hey guys, welcome to You the Boss podcast. Happy April. This is episode 54. I'm your host, Pam, and today we're going to be talking about embracing failure. Failure, as per Google, is a lack of success in doing or achieving something, especially in relation to a particular activity. So, in other words, basically, failure is when you set out to do something, to accomplish something, and it just doesn't happen. The truth is, we've all experienced failure at some point or another, some more than others. And I've said this before here on this podcast that the point is not to do everything perfectly. It's not for everything to be perfect, but it is to make progress. And sometimes failure is really just that. It's just a stepping stone. It's a way to just move forward, to continue on your journey to what it is that you're looking to accomplish. And sometimes that journey requires different paths. It requires, just different ways for you to learn from your mistakes. And this isn't in a toxic positivity kind of way. It's just to reflect on the fact that, again, sometimes we fail at something because it's not what we're meant to be doing, or maybe the way that we thought we should be getting there, maybe the path that we thought we should be using is not the one that we should be using. I wanted to give you guys some examples of failures that we all know, starting with Oprah Winfrey. She faced a lot of uncertainties in the time from the time that she was very young in her career. And very early on, she was fired as an anchor because, she wasn't fit for TV. Barack Obama, he faced different setbacks in his career. He was rejected from law review from Harvard, and he actually lost his first political race for Congress. Shaquille O'Neal, he struggled with his academics when he was in high school, and he was criticized for his personality and for his early style of playing basketball. And there's, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. He was cut from a Canadian football team league and he struggled to find success as a wrestler. Kerry Washington, she faced rejection in her acting career and she was not cast for different roles due to stereotyping and limited opportunities in Hollywood. These are all names that we recognize. These are all names that we know. And sometimes it can be easier to acknowledge in these kinds of examples. It's easier to acknowledge. It's like, oh, yeah, but they made it. And it's like, yeah, but we wouldn't know Kerry Washington. We wouldn't know The Rock. And they have one thing in common, all of them, and that's that they didn't allow their failures to stop them. They didn't quit. They didn't say, you know what? I'm just not going to do this anymore. When they were faced with a challenge, when they were faced with opposition, they said, I'm going to find a different way. I'm going to walk a different path. I'm going to get there just in a different way. And it's important to note this because we are so used to the microwave society on social media. We're so used to only seeing the successes of people. And we have to remember that they also go through failures. Those people that you see on social media saying, I made 6 figures in my business, they also lost 6 figures. Or maybe they didn't lose that much, but they definitely lost money investing into themselves, investing into their business. People that you see at the gym, they may have failed getting into some workouts or they failed at their nutrition. Not everything is perfect. Not everything is Instagram and Facebook perfection. And it's important to note that in the day to day, because again, if someone like Kerry Washington wouldn't have pushed forward in her career, we wouldn't know some of the great roles that she has played. It's also important to use the example that, when a baby is learning to walk, they fall a lot. They actually fall more than they actually stand. They get tired, they get frustrated. And the baby doesn't say, you know what, I don't think I'm going to walk. I think I'm going to just crawl for the rest of my life and that's it. No, the baby keeps getting up. And even after they get up and they learn to take a couple of steps, they fall again And even at some point, they say babies are little drunk people. They stumble, and we are just like those babies. We shouldn't get discouraged whenever we fall or stumble, because that is part of our journey. That is part of the way that we're going to continue to be successful. I wanted to list a couple of more failures because I just feel like it's important to know the names of different people and to remember these people as the same as me and you, in the sense that they faced struggles, they faced, different opposition, and still they pushed forward. Maya Angelou, she faced trauma and hardships in her life. She was sexually assaulted, and she experienced a period of deep personal turmoil. She struggled with her career. She faced rejection in finding her voice for writing. Serena Williams, you know, she was faced with criticism, public doubt, and setbacks. She was underestimated under her sister because of her background, because of her body type, and because of her aggressive playing style. Steve Harvey, in his career, when he was looking for places to be able to go and tell his jokes and be a stand-up comic, he experienced homelessness. He also had failures in different ventures when he was, looking for that breakthrough. Issa Rae, this one is a little bit newer to me because I wasn't as familiar with her, but she faced initial struggles in Hollywood. She experienced numerous rejections and challenges to get her work noticed. And in her early attempts to break into the industry, she struggled to find opportunities that matched her vision. And today, these individuals, they're all successful in their respective careers. Like I said, it is easier to quote these different individuals because they've already made it, right? And I just want to remind you that had they quit, they wouldn't have touched the lives that they have. They We wouldn't know them. And maybe some of these people, and whether it be in Hollywood or even athletes, they wouldn't have set the standard for something like tennis with Serena Williams. So when you think about, if you've ever watched the movie King Richard, you know, um it is about Serena Williams, and actually very specifically it's about her father and him raising Venus and Serena and all the different trials that he had to go through. And I saw this movie when I was just like a couple of weeks postpartum, and so I watched it over the course of a couple of days because I kept falling asleep. And that movie has really played a role for me in these last 10 or 11 months because, again, it feeds to that. It feeds to every negative situation he faced, every no he faced, every rejection he faced, every time he had a failure. He just kept pushing. He kept bringing his daughters to the tennis court. He told them, you know what, you're going to succeed. And he did positive affirmations with them. And it just says the clear message that when you don't give up, you will succeed. So today I wanted to share some practical ways for you to embrace failure and for you to use them as stepping stones. Number one, acknowledge your emotions. Allowing yourself to feel disappointment or frustration without judgment. It's okay to be upset after a failure. It's okay to feel those feelings, because sometimes when you try to suppress them, that leads to burnout. It leads to you overexerting yourself and not being able to, bounce back. Validating your emotions, it helps you release the negative feelings, because those negative feelings do exist. And then it helps you just kind of let them go as opposed to holding on to them. Number two, reframe the failure as a learning opportunity. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Sometimes the learning from this is, just don't go in that direction anymore. Maybe that's just not, maybe it didn't teach you something. Maybe it taught you something that you don't want out of your situation or your journey or your career. Number three, set small, achievable goals. After you experience a failure, you want to be able to just come back, just make a little step forward. And sometimes it makes setting those smaller goals more intentional because it helps you go in the right direction after a failure. It helps boost your self-esteem. Number 4, practice gratitude. I am a big proponent of this because gratitude is so important. We spend so often trying to achieve something, looking to push forward in something that we forget to be grateful for the now, even when it's messy and it's difficult. You can keep a gratitude journal or just, wake up every day and thank someone for being in your life or for doing something in your life. It helps shift your mindset, and instead of it being something like what I didn't achieve, it helps you look a little bit more at things in a grateful manner despite the setbacks. Number 5, surround yourself with supportive people. The truth is, you are who you surround yourself with. And if you're constantly around people who don't support you, people who don't offer you help or anything like that, you're going to stay stuck longer, if not forever. So reach out to friends, reach out to family, reach out to mentors and people who can provide encouragement and perspective to you. Share your feelings and receive advice from them, and maybe just listen to them as they offer you support. Number 6, focus on self compassion. You know, practicing being kind to yourself is so important. It just really helps you avoid that self criticism. When you're kind to yourself, you don't feed that anxiety and that negative talk. It doesn't serve you to stay stuck in a cycle of self doubt. So it helps you say, you know what, I didn't succeed this time, but I can try again. Number 7, visualize your future success. Take some time to visualize where you want to be in the future and the steps that you can take to get there. Create a mental picture of success to keep you motivated. Visualization, you guys know, is so big for me. Vision boards, whether it's virtual or a physical one or just a constant screensaver on your phone, visualize the person that you want to be and you will slowly become them. Number 8, practice mindfulness or meditation. I know that this can be a much deeper topic, so I'm not here to necessarily tell you how to do these things, but just to encourage you to try them out. I'm encouraging you to say, you know what, I'm going to take a few deep breaths for the next 5 to 6 minutes. Or maybe it's choosing an app that may work out for you. For me, I have used the Calm app. And again, this isn't sponsored by them, but it's important to note that there are so many different apps out there. So find the one that works for you to help you practice that mindfulness and that meditation. Number 9, take care of your body. I know that it is so easy to get wrapped up in like, oh, I don't know how to lift weights or I don't know how to run. And it's like, just go for a walk. Exercising regularly helps you release stress. It boosts your mood. It also helps for you to get enough sleep, for you to eat nutritious foods. There's nothing worse than having maybe failed something or something didn't pan out and then you eat something and it makes you feel worse. It makes you feel more stressed out. So, make sure that you get in some of that physical activity. Make sure you get in some good nutrition and you take care of your body, both, your physical and your mental. Number 10, celebrate progress, not perfection. I did an episode a couple of weeks ago. Progress over perfection every time. Acknowledge even the smallest things that you make towards your goals. Celebrate your efforts, not the outcomes. That is so, so important. Over the last, I want to say 6 or 7 weeks, I list a number of things that I want to get done throughout the day. As you guys know, I have a 10-and-a-half-month-old. I am a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a friend. And there's just so much going on in the world, both like in our personal lives and just on the bigger scale of things. So every week I do try to, list a number of things to do every day. And I say, you know what? I'm going to do my best. And at the end of every week, it's not always perfect, but it does get done. Number 11, stay inspired by other stories. Surround yourself by more successful stories. Surround yourself by more people that maybe they're doing what you want to be doing. Maybe they are, you know, accomplishing things that you want to accomplish. And I want to encourage you to read more about their stories, read more about the different things that they've been through, the different, achievements that they've made and how they got there. Because being able to see that someone else was able to be successful, it helps inspire you and it helps remind you that failure is not the end, but just a part of the journey. Number 12, this is going to be a controversial one potentially, but I'm going to say what it is because that's just the kind of boss that I am. And that's limit social media comparison. Take breaks from social media, unfollow accounts that cause you to compare yourself, or maybe they lead to unhealthy comparisons. Focus on your own progress instead. It helps to do this because social media can amplify these feelings. And while some people can inspire you, it can also cause you to feel less, you know? And by practicing these strategies that I've provided for you, it helps you maintain a positive mindset and it helps you to be able to push forward. Remember that setbacks are a natural part of growth and perseverance is key to long-term success. Before I finish this episode, I want to say if you haven't already, please leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you've already done so, please send me a message. I'd love to feature you on our Instagram. And lastly, if you could send this to anyone that you know that is experiencing failure or someone that you care about, we totally appreciate it. Thank you for listening. Come back again next week for another episode of You the Boss podcast.